Brian Mudd Show is on News Radio 610 WIOD.
As we've been taking a look at the border, we're joined once again by Naim Haroon Sakhia. He's an attorney. He's been a good source of information in the border surge. And last week in particular, there was one story that I thought was quite significant that, as per usual, did not receive a ton of attention in most news media. That was the story about whistleblowers that ended up shining light on the administration, including Health and Human Services, ordering basically a cover-up of COVID-19 positivity among migrants that were allowed to stay in this country and that in many cases were even shipped and bused across the country to states like ours. Naim, to the whistleblower case, I'm interested to get your thoughts on it.
Yeah, hi, Brian. Thanks for having me on the show again. This actually started, just via background, there's something called Office of Refugee Resettlement, which operates under Health and Human Services. And they have three kinds of facilities. One is the fully licensed facilities, then they have flux facilities with intakes, and then there's an emergency intake centers which are taking these migrant kids, unaccompanied children who are coming in. And they are basically charged with taking these kids from the custody of Customs and Border Patrol so that they can theoretically be taken care of properly. What has happened is that these emergency intake services are being run by contractors, and according to this whistleblower complaint or disclosures, as they have called them, they did this on July 7th and then again on July the 28th, that these contractors who have been given the responsibility to run these centers have absolutely no background in taking care of the children. And not only that, these centers are poorly managed, miscommunication is rampant, and cover-up is rampant. That's according to the complaint. So what has happened yesterday is the Office of the Inspector General has announced that they are going to go ahead and investigate these claims. Now, this started happening back in May, or in fact before that. It's starting in April, when there were reports of mismanagement, lack of services, cover-ups, and all that kind of stuff. So Mr. Javier Becerra basically gave a statement in end of May. He did not see any issues when he visited. Then on July 7th, there was a formal complaint or disclosure, as they call them. And then again on July the 28th, because according to these whistleblowers, nothing was being taken care of, or they were not taken seriously, and media was also largely ignoring it. So this has become a full-blown scandal, I would say, for the lack of a better word. And now, after about 3 months of complaining, Office of the Inspector General at HHC has decided that they're going to investigate this.
Naim, that is excellent information and analysis. So I kind of put these pieces together. At the point where Border Patrol has processed migrants, they're turned over to these nonprofits. And this is the point at which you're talking about, these contractors, these nonprofits. And it's their job to go ahead and make for whatever the arrangements are going to be, which commonly is busing them to wherever their destination is, which, for example, Florida is a common destination. So it's at the point where you go from chain of custody, Border Patrol, over to these nonprofits. That, I mean, everything is just up to interpretation. In many cases, they may have people that are COVID-19 positive that they're not alerting people to. They may not be using proper protocols to keep other people safe. And then they may be, ultimately shipping out COVID positive migrants across the country. And so it's helpful to explain it. What do you make, though, of Health and Human Services and their, assertion that basically they told them to whitewash it, just ignore it, make it go away?
Yeah, according to this disclosure of July 28th for the complaint by the whistleblowers, they are saying that secrecy and good news only were the standing orders of the day. Now, again, this is according to this complaint. This is a one-sided story. And once the investigation happens, we'll perhaps know more about it. But the troubling thing is it took a while for this investigation to get into the offings and being done. So apparently there was something which was very troubling to these federal employees who were basically detailees. They were volunteering to work at these emergency intake centers, and they looked at this, and then in this complaint, they have basically alleged many things. But very first thing is, as I said, the contractors which have been given this responsibility have absolutely no background in taking care of the children. Secondly, on top of that, these contractors have franchisees who are working in these facilities, and these franchisees have hired people apparently without any background check, without any assurance that these people who are actually being charged with the responsibility of taking the care of the kids have any sort of training, background, anything at all, anything to do with these children. And then on top of that, people who were basically trying to address these issues or at least point out these problems, they were told that the standing order is to pump up the good stories and basically ignore the bad ones. And the bad one here is most glaringly the COVID situation. So when these kids were being matched up with their sponsors or caretakers, and as you said, they were being transported across the country without letting anybody know what their situation is in terms of COVID, it's really, really alarming if we were to go with, if we were to believe everything which is written in this complaint.
Naim Haroon Sakhia, thank you very much for the time and the analysis, as always.
Thank you.